Welcome back, everyone. We've got some explosive developments that the mainstream media doesn't want you to see. But before we dive in, let me tell you something crucial that happened in the United States on August 22nd. A 34-year-old homeless man with a criminal background committed a horrific violent act on a train. And here's the kicker. Major media outlets controlled by the Democrats, the same ones Trump calls the radical left, completely ignored this tragedy. They deliberately buried it. If you're new here, I'm Andrew Meet Rich. I used to work inside a state-run media outlet, saw how stories were twisted to fit the narrative, and I walked away. Now I'm independent, I speak freely, and I tell you what really matters. This is exactly why I left that world behind. When I saw how stories were manipulated, how inconvenient truths were swept under the rug, I knew I had to break free. And right now we're seeing this playbook in action across the Atlantic. The American people are absolutely furious on social media about this media blackout. Even Elon Musk called out the Democrat-oriented media for silencing this story. Think about it. We all remember how when Democrats want to push a narrative, every single outlet screams about it nonstop. The information processing of the masses gets cranked up to maximum volume. But when it doesn't fit their agenda, radio silence. President Trump didn't even find out about this terrible incident right away because of this media conspiracy. Now he's demanding answers, and frankly, it's about time. This is the kind of selective journalism that destroys trust in our institutions. Hit that like button if you're tired of being manipulated by the mainstream media machine. And if you want to support independent voices like mine, consider becoming a channel sponsor. Your support means everything in this fight for truth. But Trump isn't stopping there. He just dropped an incredible post about wind power that's making politicians sweat. He wrote, and I quote, "Any country that relies on windmills is not viable. Their energy costs have skyrocketed and the population is unhappy. Windmills don't just reduce birds, they eliminate many bad politicians who lose their jobs because of them." This is Trump basically saying that anyone pushing these wind energy policies is causing harm and will eventually be removed from office. It's just a matter of time. And you know what? The energy crisis in Europe is proving him right every single day. Meanwhile, Trump's Energy Secretary Chris Wright just announced that the European Union must completely stop buying Russian energy. This is the condition for tightening American sanctions. Wright emphasized that current oil and gas purchases are funding military actions, something many European countries conveniently ignore. Here's where it gets really interesting. Wright called on European countries to switch to American liquefied natural gas and other fuels under a trade agreement that requires the European Union to purchase $750 billion worth of energy. $750 billion. That's the plan that was always in motion. The US is also going to pressure EU leadership to start putting pressure on India and China. This will naturally damage relations between the European Commission and India, which was planning to conclude a free trade agreement by the end of this year. This could become the largest such agreement in the world, but now it's all at risk. When asked about the main obstacle to a peace agreement for Ukraine, Trump said something fascinating. He revealed that very interesting discussions are happening right now. Some European leaders will come to the US separately, and he thinks they'll sort this issue out. "I think we'll settle it. We have to," he said word for word. There are complications with European leaders, but Trump believes he'll resolve everything. So we're watching to see exactly what they decide, who they pressure, how they do it, and how events will unfold next. This is going to be a very interesting week ahead. But let's shift to Germany, where the situation is becoming absolutely explosive. The capital was rocked by another violent incident. In central Berlin, a group attacked two men with sharp objects. According to police, two men of Turkish origin, ages 25 and 26, were wounded at night. A group of 10 people, 7 men and 3 women, presumably from Afghanistan, committed unacceptable actions, to put it very mildly. The wounded managed to reach Berlin's Red Town Hall building, where police noticed them and immediately called for help. Their lives are not currently in danger, thankfully. Police are investigating and searching for the suspects. The motive hasn't been established yet. But here's what's really telling. German administrative courts are recording a sharp increase in asylum applications. New data from different federal states shows the most lawsuits registered in North Rhine-Westphalia, Bavaria, and Lower Saxony. At the same time, while court cases have increased, the overall number of asylum requests in Germany has decreased compared to before. But in other countries like France and Spain, it has increased. The pattern is clear, and it's creating massive political pressure. Germany is also seeing renewed debates about the proposed ban on the Alternative for Germany party. The Greens recently announced their intention to initiate the corresponding procedure, but constitutional experts are warning that attempting to finally ban the right-wing party could only mobilize the protest electorate. For voters, this would signal that Alternative for Germany is becoming stronger, and other parties have no choice but to try to ban them. Experts say you can only fight AfD with political arguments, not bans. They also warn that even if successful, such a decision would damage democracy itself. In the latest Bundestag elections, AfD received about 21% of the vote, and in Saxony-Anhalt, polls show their support reaching 39%. Banning the right-wing party would mean disenfranchising millions of people. What kind of democracy are we talking about then? That's what specialists are asking. But they probably won't listen to the experts. Fear of the right coming to power, and then immediate accountability for many, for example, for the deindustrialization of the country. This fear will continue to push the same Greens, in their minority, to calls for banning the right-wing majority. German Bundestag deputy from Merz's Christian Democratic Union Party, the well-known Roderich Kiesewetter, also reminded everyone about himself. He called on German authorities to supply Ukraine with long-range Taurus missiles. Perfectly understanding this won't happen, Kiesewetter systematically reminds everyone about himself this way, but many have gotten used to such calls. And immediately moving to military topics, it's appropriate to add the hotly debated important discussion happening in Germany. Against the backdrop of plans to introduce questionnaire registration for the army starting next year, discussions are taking place. Merz's union is also discussing the possibility of returning mandatory service lasting 1 year. However, this topic causes disputes and disagreements among young people. In a podcast by German publication Bild, a Bundeswehr officer who's also a blogger named David Mattei, who supports mandatory service, met with writer Olin Mayen, author of the book Why I Will Never Fight for My Country. What a title, right? Mattei admitted he came to the army for money but stayed for democracy. The writer Mayen objected, stating he's not ready to go to war, he has one life, and the state isn't worth it. These words were declared to the entire country and caused heated discussion and disagreements. A person put his interests, most importantly his life, above state interests and government plans. According to this year's poll, 70% of young Germans oppose mandatory military service. So German youth has completely different plans compared to government plans. In our time, with stories about protecting democracy that has long been selective in nature, everyone has already noticed this. Plus, inequality is present. Motivating German youth will be very difficult when 70% are opposed. Don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell for notifications. We're going to keep tracking these explosive developments that the mainstream media won't tell you about. Germany is also very seriously concerned about the crisis in France, both political and economic. Experts warn that if Paris can't handle its debts, it could hit the euro and joint Franco-German projects, including in the defense sector. No significant progress has been observed in Franco-German cooperation for more than a year and a half. This is precisely due to political instability in both countries, which is very important for Europe, as experts in Germany state. It's worth noting immediately that despite the threat of mass protests in France that should begin this month, everything is heading toward this. Early resignation of President Emmanuel Macron before 2027 is completely ruled out. Trust in Emmanuel Macron fell by 6% last August and reached 15%. Premier Bayrou is supported by 14%. In general, the level of unpopularity is practically unprecedented for a French prime minister. So how events will develop further in France is a huge intrigue. Getting back to those US developments, it's absolutely critical that Americans understand what's happening. The deliberate media blackout of that train incident shows you exactly how the information war is being waged. When Democrats want to spin something, every outlet screams about it. When it doesn't fit their narrative, complete silence. This is why independent media is so crucial right now. We're not beholden to corporate masters or political parties. We tell you the truth, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it challenges the narrative they want you to believe. The popularity of these left-wing media outlets will soon reach rock bottom, just like French President Emmanuel Macron's approval ratings. People are waking up to the manipulation, and they're demanding real journalism, not propaganda disguised as news. Trump's energy strategy is brilliant, and it's already working. By forcing Europe to choose between Russian energy and American sanctions, years, he's reshaping the entire global energy landscape. Europe will have no choice but to buy American liquefied natural gas, creating hundreds of billions in revenue for US companies. But this isn't just about energy, it's about power. It's about breaking the economic ties that have made Europe dependent on authoritarian regimes. It's about forcing European leaders to finally make the hard choices they've been avoiding for decades. Those separate meetings Trump mentioned with European leaders, that's where the real negotiations will happen, away from the cameras, away from the diplomatic theater. That's where deals get made and futures get decided. The week ahead is going to be absolutely explosive. We're watching the pieces move on the global chessboard, and the stakes have never been higher. Stay with me, because I'll be breaking down every development as it happens. The truth matters, and together we're going to make sure it gets told.